Hello and welcome to a Funko Pop Obsessed tutorial. Today I'm mainly going to talk about my tools that I use. So let's get into it. First off, I have this paint that I use. If you can, let's see, move it back a bit. It's an academic acrylic, carbon black. It's non-toxic, 100% acrylic. And it is water resistant when dry. So this actually I use as a primer coat for most of the Funko Pops, especially if it's like I'm going over with dark color, or if I'm using black. I'll use this paint. It's very good. It is hard to get off, so try not to make a mistake because you might have to use some nail polish remover because I've tried scrubbing it off. It will eventually come off when you scrub it, but it does take a while. So this is a really good primer. I sometimes mix it with a little white to give myself grays. If I need something a bit lighter. So this actually I buy at Curry's, which is an Ontario in Canada art store. So if you wanted to give that a try, I think they do have a website that you can, and I think you can order from them. I'm not 100% sure, but just maybe even try to find something in your art store that is similar. I'm sure they have something that's similar to this. So that's the primer coat. The reason why I do this and I don't spray is because, well, first of all, I had this on hand, and second of all, I live in an apartment building. I don't even have a balcony, so I can't really spray in here because it would just create too much fumes. So, and I have tiny windows. So I just decided not to do any spray, anything, primer, sealer, whatever. I haven't had any issues. Everything is, stays on, so this is an alternative to how other people mainly do it. This I just sort of did because that's what I had around the house. So when I first started, I use that. Then when you get into like colors, I just use regular, acrylics, dollar store acrylics, and then I have these two, which are a little bit more money, but they're just acrylics. Sometimes you have to do 2, 3, maybe 4 coats depending on the coverage. Some people water down their acrylics to give a smoother look. I do not. I find that I don't have to do that, mainly because I think of the brushes I use, and I don't put a lot of paint on the brushes in the first place. So, so I'll show you the paintbrushes in a minute. While I'm showing you paint, I do have this little jar. It is a jam jar, mini jam jar. It's the best thing I've found to mix paints in that stay usable. So you can see it's still running. I don't know if you can see that in the video, but it's still running, so it's still usable. The only container that I found that works, if you want to keep your custom colors fresh. I'm sure other people have other things they use, but I found that's the best for me. And I bought those at the dollar store, so it wasn't expensive or anything. The other thing is acetone, so nail polish remover. Now this I use for if I want to remove eyebrows or a mustache or the beards off the Funko Pop, because the one that the custom I'm making doesn't have a beard, but the hair is good. So I use that and my cod swabs. Don't buy Q-tips because Q-tips are, just buy dollar store cotton swabs are good enough. And cheap acetone. You don't need expensive nail polish remover. These work. It works really well, very well. So just be careful because you don't want to damage any, like the eyes or anything like that when you're taking it off. When you're taking what you want off, and just be careful because some of the faces are actually painted flesh they are not molded in the flesh. I don't know if anybody's run into this, but I have a few times. So it's actually the hair color that the mold is in as opposed to the flesh color. So don't use this to take off eyebrows or anything like that, because you'll take the flesh part off as well. You don't want to do that. I've done that. I did that a couple of times and I was like, oh shit. So now I pay very close attention to whether the skin, the flesh color is painted on or whether it was actually molded in that color. Just a little hint, a little tip. Also, when I have had the black paint and I've had to scrub it off, I use Vim. I don't know if you can see Vim. It's a cream cleanser. Use toothbrush, just underwater, just scrub until you can get it all off. You could use the acetone. I don't like to use very much of it because it can damage the plastic eventually, and so I don't want to do that unless I absolutely have to. So if you've put a color on and you don't like it, just use a cream cleanser and scrub it off, and then maybe use a little bit of soap and water and clean it off, and then dry it. So that works really well, actually. So you can try that. The other thing is screwdrivers. So screwdrivers and jam jars. Okay, so what I do is when I've painted the head, let's say I painted this head here, you can see. When I'm painting it, I put it on a screwdriver so I can paint it a lot. Sometimes I'll hold her like this and I'll paint. And then what I do is I stick it in the jam jar to dry, put it by the window. It dries a lot faster by my window. And that's kind of the system I use for the heads mainly, just because I found that it works the best. But you can do other things. You can use beer bottles and maybe put chopsticks in or whatever you want to do. But yeah, it's handy to have some screwdrivers. Sometimes you can pick screwdrivers up cheap. You don't need expensive ones to hold the head. So you can just get those at like a cheap place. Or unless you already have some around the house. Also with the heads, speaking of heads, it's good to have varying sizes of glass containers, I should say, or ceramic, that you can put in the microwave, that you can put water in, that you can, let's move some of this back, that you can put the heads in. So like the head will fit in this one, but sometimes the heads are bigger, especially if like a lot of hair or whatever, so then a bigger one, you can use a bigger one, to put your heads in. It's the best way I've found to take them apart, mainly because it doesn't damage them, and it kind of makes the glue reactivate so that you can take it apart. That's the best way. I know you can use apparently a hairdryer, but I've never tried that. I don't think I want to. So this is the best way that I've found to do this. So, and they come apart a lot of them come apart pretty easily. Some of them you have to work at, but the other thing is for the body, because you want to be working on the body, you can use these little use these clips here, so you can put the clip on the head like this. Oops. And then you have something to hold on to while you're painting your body, so you can you can move it around, whatever, so that's a a good way to do that. Sometimes I'll put the stand on and do it that way, but this works well too. So there's that. And then tweezers. I always keep tweezers on hand. You never know. They come in handy for things. different things. Like if I'm putting small pieces of fabric or felt on something, and I need to be able to pick it up, but not, my fingers are too big, I can use the tweezers to do that and place it on. So that's another tool. I also use, hold on, let me see if I can find them. I also use, this one's broken, but I use these little files, because sometimes I need to file down, little things that I don't need on the Funko, or I need to file, inside the little ridge because some of the bodies are a little bit, the little peg is a little bit bigger than the hole that's in the other one, so sometimes I'll just use the file to file it so that they eventually fit together. So, pick up little files. They're quite handy. I don't tend to use sandpaper because, like I said, I don't mold. So, but if you do mold, you use sandpaper. Have some different grits on hand. I've noticed some people have used Dremels. You can, if you want. I don't use a Dremel. I do use a drill sometimes to make the hole a little bit bigger when the peg doesn't fit in, because sometimes filing takes too long. Depends on how big the hole has to be. So yeah, so those are, more or less kind of the tools that I use to do custom Funkos. If you have any questions or anything, you can leave something in the comment section. Or if you have any suggestions maybe, or oh, the other thing I didn't talk about, wait a minute, hold on. Sealing. So for sealing, I use liquid text. I got this at Curry's again. Oops. I use liquid text mainly because it's what I had on hand when I was doing. And again, like I said, I don't want to spray anything in my apartment. So I use this, I brush it on. This one happens to be a high gloss, but you can get it in just regular gloss, or you can get it in matte if you want. A little varnish goes a long way, actually. It's a non-yellowing artist varnish, so high quality. So I do that. I know a lot of people spray, but I don't want to do that in my apartment, so I do it this way. And I don't mind the high gloss, just because I think it makes them stand out a little bit from the regular ones, which I'm okay with. So those are more or less the tools that I use. Like I said, if you have any comments or suggestions, just, leave a little something in the comment section, and I will try to answer you or take something into consideration. And we'll see you next time.